this is a training I put together for EXP University, and this is just information that I've gathered over the last 6 years from tons of people. We've collaborated on this. Eric's been a part of our group for a while, so for years we were doing Friday calls and just collaborating together, just to really kind of help one another out. So I put this together, did it for the first time in the cloud in January, and it seemed like everybody loved it. So they invited me back. I'm going to be doing this again at 11 a.m. on March 23rd. So that's here in about a week and a half or so. And this is, I don't know if you guys have plugged into the university series, but there is a workplace group. So if you go into workplace and you type in attraction series or agent attraction or something like that, you'll see all the, I think they're archiving all the recordings from all the influencers that are doing the presentations in the cloud. So this is the one that I came up with, Fearless Prospecting the Right Way. And income disclosure. Yeah, EXP wants to let everybody know that this is not a guarantee representation of earnings. So it comes from hard work and diligence. So like I said, this is something I put together over the years, and I've hired different coaches for recruiting. I've learned so much, right? There's really no one way to do this. I think that everybody has to figure out their own way. Something that I made the mistake early on is trying to do what other people were doing, and it wasn't necessarily fulfilling for myself. But at the end of the day, is adding value to agents is number one. So whatever your superpower is, I would encourage you, if you are really good at marketing and listing houses, that's your superpower. That's what you teach other agents how to do, because that's what you're passionate about. But in this particular, I'm going to touch on that a little bit more here in a moment, but on this particular presentation, we're going to walk through the 5 steps. I'm going to give you 5 exact steps, how to approach agents. When I say the right way, it's really important that the dialogue you have with people, that you don't rub them the wrong way. Right? You want the timing to be right. Everybody, EXP is not a good fit for everybody, but every agent that doesn't know what they don't know, like myself, like I said, I've made all the mistakes out there, will try to project all the great things that they love about EXP without even exploring what this other person, what their challenges are, what their needs are. And I'll share some things about cold calling that I've learned here in a little bit. But when I say approaching the agents the right way, I'm going to give you guys a direct approach and an indirect approach. And I'm going to give you a couple scripts that it doesn't matter what caliber they are. If you feel, we call it the chicken list, right? You want to make a list of people that are either crushing it in real estate or someone you'd be nervous to reach out to. I'll give you a question that you can ask them. It doesn't matter who they are, that it's not imposing. It's not pushy. It's not like you have an agenda. And then depending on how they answer depends on kind of what you do next. But I would say the fortune's in the follow-up. I'll share an example and a story. I was at the Build conference in Dallas this past summer. It was in Grapevine, Texas. It was the first event that we had done in a long time. Brent Gove was there. They brought Tony Robbins in. If any of you were there, you understand the electricity that was in that room. But it was in between a session or something like that. I think the day was over and when everyone was scattering out to go start finding places to eat. And I hear this lady say, "Ian." And I turned around and I was like, "Cindy, what are you doing here?" She's like, "Oh, I joined EXP 2 years ago. It's amazing." I was like, oh. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, I've seen people over the years that I talked to, that I just lost that connection and didn't continue to follow up, and they joined EXP. So the fortune's really in the follow-up. A little bit about myself. I live in Dallas. Actually, it's Plano. It's a suburb 20 minutes north. I've been in this market since I was in junior high school. I was actually born in San Francisco. I was raised in Texas, so I'm a Texas boy and a Cowboy fan. I've been in real estate for over 16 years now, and I've had my hands in a lot of different aspects of real estate, primarily single family houses, anything you can think of to do with a single family house, from building them to tearing them apart to distressed mortgages, from short sales, pre-foreclosures. I do luxury renovations, and I sell real estate at a high volume right now with an expansion team with Jeff and Amanda Whitespear. Eric and I closed a couple transactions here in our local market. He actually texted me an address just earlier. So I'm very active in real estate. And then some of the things that EXP has done for me is building the stock over the years. I was able to liquidate some stock and invest it in a multifamily deal. So now I'm in my second multifamily deal. I'm a capital partner, and it was a dream to be able to be an investor in those types of assets. So to say that EXP has changed my life is it's been a pretty incredible journey. But the things that I love to do is I love taking trips with my family. I'm very family oriented. My wife has two sisters and nephews, and we like to get together and we like to go to the beach and we like to go to the mountains. Those are the two things. So I'm not real fancy. I just like to have fun and take care of the people around me. So I like to ask who's ready to take their revenue share to the next level because, yeah, everybody, because that's the reality here. Like, this is happening with or without you. That's what I realized a long time ago. Like, this is happening with or without you. Let's see here. I need to mute some folks. I'm getting some feedback. Thank you. We're all good there. So that was the thing that I realized. I was sitting on the sidelines watching these guys and gals crush it recruiting. So Rob Flick, if you guys know who Rob Flick is, he's, the number one revenue share earner in the entire company. Well, he was living in Plano, Texas in 2016, right here in my backyard. And he started doing lunch and learns. And he was telling the story about how he, almost lost his life to cancer, found Keller Williams, got on their profit share model, and that profit share model set him financially free. And when he reconnected with Gene Frederick, he said, "Hey, I heard that you sold all your Keller holdings." He was like, "Yeah, I got this EXP thing I want to tell you about." And just like every agent, he was just like, "No, no, no, I don't want to hear about it. I'm retired. I'm doing great, da, 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 da." And Gene's like, "No, no, no, you really need to learn about this." So they picked up, the story was they got a bottle of scotch and a couple cigars, and they started around midnight on Gene's patio in his lake house in Cedar Creek, Texas. And he started writing out this business model on napkins. And internally, Rob said he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." But he said he had poker face, right? He was just like, not interested. And then Gene told him, he said, "Hey, look, I ran your numbers from Keller Williams. You're the 13th highest paid person in the history of Keller Williams profit share." He goes, "This EXP model, the way it's set up, instead of earning," he goes, "I ran your numbers. If you did the exact same thing you did at Keller, if you did it over here at EXP," he goes, "instead of making $200,000 to $300,000 a year, you'd make somewhere between $6 to $12 million a year." And he said that was when it got real for him, because he knew technology was changing. He just saw a business model that could get agents free, because whenever he got financially free with Keller and he was traveling around the world, the opportunity to do that at Keller was over, right? The ship had already sailed. So he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is an opportunity. We get to do this again. This is a second lifetime, once in a lifetime experience for the second time." So Rob said, "All right, I'm going to give this a 3-year run." And because there's a 3-year vesting period, and we'll see how it is at the end of 3 years. Their goal was like, 500 agents in 3 years. Well, it was more like, 5,000 agents in 3 years, $250,000 a month in rev share. And it was just lights out. So a lot of what I'm talking about today through this needs analysis and all this is what Rob already knew. So Rob already hit the ground running. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to approach agents. He knew how to prospect. He knew how to probe for pain. He knew how to lead them through, I don't know the name of the model, what it's called, but it's identifying what people's pains are. It's called positive present. Hey, what's great? What's fun? What's going on? Hey, what's bad? What's not working, right? That's the negative present. And then moving them into a negative future mindset of, well, wow, if you keep doing that, well, how are you going to achieve your goals down the road? And then providing the solution that can help them get where they want. And that's where this needs analysis really came about, is from Rob Flick. And I'm going to go through this in detail, but building a list, that's the first thing. You take out pad and pen or Excel spreadsheet and you just start writing down names. So building a list is number one, and you always add contacts to your list. We'll talk about cold marketing here in a minute, but it starts with everybody that you know. And then you go to your sphere of influence and you ask for referrals. Hey, who do you know that's got it going on in real estate? That was Rob's question. Because when Rob came to Dallas, Texas and lived in Plano and he started doing lunch and learns, he'd been out of the game forever. 15 years. He hadn't sold real estate in over 15 years. Think about that. The number one recruiter in our company hasn't written a contract. And I don't know if you guys have heard Gene Frederick. He'll say the same thing. Gene's like, I haven't written a contract in 20 years. But the guy makes more money than every agent that I've ever met. So that's the question, right? Is, hey, who do you know that's got it going on in real estate? And we'll get into the dialogue there because that's more of a direct approach when you do reach out to those folks. But building a list and adding to it is something you always want to do. The agents on the other sides of the transactions, right now, I executed 2 contracts yesterday, and one lady is with Remax. You know, she's polished and proper and professional, which is great because we have some terrible agents in our industry that are not. I like to say I want to raise the bar in the deals. So I want to be the better agent. Communicate. I want to be a step ahead of them the entire time. So at the end of the transaction, they're like, wow, they had a great experience working with me. So you have a huge opportunity to really build solid relationships with people that are in your deals, the deal flow from other agents. And at some point in time, you know, and we'll invite them for coffee. Maybe you should give them a gift. Like, hey, I had a great transaction with you. Would you meet me for coffee? I have a closing gift for you. And if you did a great job and built a relationship, they're going to take that appointment, right? Then you get face to face. Then you say, hey, here's a book that's, you know, maybe it's impacted your life. Maybe it's about lead gen. Maybe it's Listing Boss by Hoss Pratt, or who knows, whatever has an impact for you. But that's just another example of ways that you can add contacts to your database. So the people that you already know, the other agents on the other sides of the transactions, obviously networking, going to open houses, all the other ways that you can get in dialogue with agents, Facebook. I have been grinding for the last several months trying to figure out different ways to just get in conversations with people. I've done coaching, right? Storytelling, all these other things to connect with people. There's so many different ways that you can connect with agents. But if you spam people about EXP, the first thing they do is they block you. They don't want to talk to you. Remember, I've done everything wrong. So if you go down the top list of 100 things to do wrong, like I've done them all. So the point is you're constantly adding people to your agent database. You got buyers, sellers, and agents. And over time, the relationships you build with agents will start to bear fruit. Remember, this is the long game, but you have to stay engaged consistently, right? It's just like your family. You don't just separate from your family. I mean, like your immediate family, the people you live with. Now, your extended family, you may not talk to them every once in a while, but you want to stay in communication with people. You know, touch on them, find out what's happening in their lives, in their world, you know, find different ways to build rapport with people, find different things that you guys can do together. There was a lady, actually, she's an FLQA on my front line. I talked to her for an hour yesterday. I met her at a new home construction bus tour 4 years ago. I didn't talk about EXP. She and I built a great relationship. We had a lot of things in common. We went to the same high school. We lived in the same area. We had a same kind of energy, and we enjoyed each other's company. She knew I was with EXP. She asked me questions. She was at Keller Williams. I gave her a couple nuggets to chew on, and it never was pushy. I read a book years ago about recruiting, and the whole takeaway from the book was become their broker. Become the person that they reach out to when they need help. Some brokers are amazing for a lot of agents. A lot of brokers are not. So if you become that resource for agents, especially the younger agents, they need experienced people around them to help them. So long story short, here we are 3.5 years later. I take her to lunch and I start probing her deeper. How much did you put in your retirement last year? Did you buy any assets? Did you invest anything? She lost a grown child and she's been devastated by different losses in her family. And she just took this deep breath and she says, I don't have anything. I don't have retirement. I don't have any assets that produce cash flow. And I just stayed silent. I didn't say a word. And then she was like, you know what? I really need to think about this EXP thing. And I just nodded. And I just stayed silent. And I let her she had a self-realization because I've been sharing the wins with her. It's like, oh gosh, look at this, look at this, look at this. And then, she actually enrolled into EXP. And then it was actually last August when we went to the build event. Heather, I think we sat down at lunch, and one of Heather's agents that came on had told a story about, she's been selling at EXP for, I don't know, a year or two. And she's like, oh my gosh, I had over $20,000 in stock just sitting there. She's like, I bought a boat for our lake house. And Bebe just looked at me and she's like, damn, I just waited too long, didn't I? I was like, no, the timing was right for you. My point of sharing that story is, yes, it took 3 years to bring her over to EXP Realty, but I built a friendship with her. I built a relationship with her. It was a mutual respect. I became a resource for her when she needed things. She needed help. She had properties under contract, plumbing cracks. And, I have a extensive knowledge in repairing houses and renovating and all that. So I became that resource for her. And I've done that with tons of other agents. So there's a lot of different ways to get in conversations with agents, but building a list, maintaining that list, and following up with that list, it's just like nurturing. I kind of joke and tell my wife it's like dating again. It's kind of really what it is, but it's friendships, right? Focus on the friendship, and down the road, when the timing's right, they'll ask you about EXP. But I'm going to give you some dialogue here in a moment. So wealth chart. Everybody that's killing it in revenue share has a wealth chart. If you don't have a wealth chart, then it's time. You can go to YouTube and type in wealth chart Rob Flick, and then it comes up. I used a whiteboard. Let's see. I just got a dry erase whiteboard, and I took cups and then I circled it. And then just this past year, I actually printed one out, had it laminated, and I write on it. So there's a lot of different places to find them. They're all over the web. I'm sure you can go into Workplace and find links to download some of the print files and stuff like that. But it's just a visual representation of what you're doing. It's a scoreboard, essentially, right? If you're in a high volume sales business, I mean, those of you that have been in the trenches, you probably have a deal board, right? We've all had deal boards. I think at some point, if you're doing real estate at a high volume, you have to have somewhere where you can visually see. I always like dry erase boards, and we lined them out because when you're moving, hundreds of properties a year, it actually helps you. So it's like a scoreboard for your revenue share business. So you add names to it. I don't know if you guys jumped on the call with Albie Stasic a couple weeks ago, but he says he's got a hit list and what was the other one? Red zone, meaning his hit list are people that he's just dripping on, that he has a relationship with that are at other brokerages. And the other side is the red zone, people that are probably in process or getting close to making a move or has had a conversation about possibly moving. So the focus on those people are going to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say intense, but, hey, how can I help you? What's going on? Wherever they are in that process. So the wealth chart is really important. It is your visual scoreboard to keep you on track and help you set your goals. Hey, you want to fill up, the circles. Now that was the deal with Rob, like, hey, fill out these 25 circles and you'll be financially free. And there is no doubt about that. So the wealth chart is really important. Conversations. The needs analysis is basically an acronym for N is now, what's happening now in your life and business. E, what do you enjoy? A, what would you alter? What would you change? D, how do you make decisions? What's your due diligence? Does your wife need to be on board? Does your spouse, who is the decision makers? And then S is setting the next step. So at any given point in time, whenever you talk to a real estate agent, you have a framework in your mind of how to approach them. And that's the number one thing that I hear with, because even people that have been selling real estate at a high level for a long time, they have never honed their skill in recruiting. Recruiting is completely different. The company likes to say agent attraction. The reality is it's recruiting. So whenever you're talking to agents, the N is always, hey, what's going on? And people like to talk about themselves. Like I ran into a lady I knew yesterday. I couldn't get a dang word in. I literally couldn't get a word in. Every time I'd start to say something, she would interrupt me. And I just smiled. It's like, oh my gosh, Sammy, shut the hell up. So people like to talk. Let them talk. So the N is now. What's happening now? Life, business, your family. E is what do you enjoy? Traveling. Gosh, Facebook, like, gosh, you guys had a great trip. Like, I love seeing my friends. There was a Sarah and her husband were down in Cabo. They live up in Wisconsin. It's a frozen tundra in Wisconsin. So they're down in Cabo having fun with everybody, showing pictures when they went deep sea fishing. I was like, keep them coming. Like, I love seeing that stuff. So, be a cheerleader for your agents, be a cheerleader for your friends, compliment them, jump on social media and, win with them, celebrate their wins, right? Be that person that is, when they think of you, do they have a smile on their face or do they think, oh, they're just trying to recruit me? Right? Like, how are you approaching people? What does it look like from the other side? So that's something that if you have been, I wouldn't say spamming, but if you've been EXPing on people because you're so excited about the company, it's a different strategy, right? At some point in time, we will get to a conversation about EXP or I will ask a question. But the A is like finding the pain. What would you alter? What would you change, right? That's the rock in the shoe. That's the negative present. What are your biggest challenges? All right, I was having conversations with agents yesterday, and that's one of the big questions. What's your biggest challenge right now? What do you think it's keeping you from reaching your goals? Because no matter what level they're at, if they sell a lot of real estate, I guarantee you time is something that is painful in their life. Because we know that selling real estate at a high level requires an extremely a lot of time, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I set out to build my business around my lifestyle, not necessarily, and my lifestyle is like just time freedom. Like, I'm on my 3-year-old schedule. I was literally rushing to get back here because I just took her and dropped her off. And that was one of my goals and dreams. When my wife and I started having children, I want to be able to take her to school and be standing right there when it was time to get out. And I've done everything in my business to position myself to make that happen. But we know that people that sell real estate at a high level, that's not their reality, right? If they're selling 50 homes, 100 homes, 200 homes, no matter how big their team is, it is nonstop. Rarely will you see a real estate agent, team leader, broker owner that is living the lifestyle that the people on our side of the world do, right? So we know that. So finding what those pains are and, empathizing with them. It's the same thing with, when you go on appointments, seller appointments, right? Build trust, empathize, right? It's more about them than it is about you, and then providing the solutions, and then that trust level raises. If you go into a listing appointment, flocking your feathers like, oh, we're so great. We sell 100 homes a year. We're going to get your home sold fast to the top dollar. And they're just kind of looking at you like, and then the next person comes in and they're like, hey, listen, I got your information from a mutual friend of ours. Like, how do you guys know each other? That's amazing. Y'all went to college together? What college you go to? Oh yeah, I went to right? Taking that time to build rapport with people and authentically build the relationship, right? So their comfort level comes down, their trust starts to rise, right? It's the exact same thing with recruiting agents, building rapport, building trust. And then decision-making. At some point, the conversation, depending, and this needs analysis can happen over a 3-year period, like it did with my prospect, Bebe, right? Once I found what the pain was and I had the trust with her, I could go there. You can't do that with people. I mean, depending on how good you are and how polished you are. I mean, one of my last recruiting coaches is one of the best I've ever seen at finding pain and prodding that pain. Right? Question-based conversations. That's what I learned from him. Question-based conversations. And then S is setting the next step. It's not necessarily setting them to come see EXP. It's hey, there's a training happening at our board. I'm at Collin County Association of Realtors. Hey, there's a training happening with the top 3 producers in our market. Hey, do you want to go to that together? Yeah, absolutely. Right? That's a safe zone. That's what I did with Bebe. I would call her and I would invite her to a mutual place, board membership trainings, title company trainings, right? That's a safe place for agents to go, because the last thing they want to do is they don't want to go somewhere where you feel like you're going to bait and switch them and try to recruit them. And unfortunately, a lot of EXP agents are doing that. And it's like, we don't know what we don't know in the beginning. It takes time to develop this skill set. It's just like when you first got started in real estate. Oh my gosh, how do I write a contract? oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I do this? It was nervous. And then once you do it one time, you're like, okay. And then after, 10, 20, 30, 50 times, it's like second nature. It's the same thing with conversations when you're recruiting agents. What's happening in your business? What's going on? What do you not like? What's your broker support look like? Hey, listen, we'd love to be a destination for you sometime. When the time comes, hey, let me know. How else can I help you? What else is going on, right? Just move right on to something else. You can't just smash EXP in their face. I have some other slides that we're going to get to here in a moment, but this is kind of the 5 steps. I just want to hang on this one for a moment. And then appointments to show EXP. And when I say an appointment to show the model, if at some point in any time in the future, once an agent is ready to learn about it and see it, don't send them a video. Set an appointment face-to-face. Zoom is next. And I have some stats here in a second. And then third-party validation is connecting them to other EXP agents, inviting them into our world, right? Our world is a lot different than other brokerages. Most people have no idea what it's like on the other side until they're here, until they experience it, kind of like you folks here, right? We all feel this connection with one another. And it's just an incredible collaboration environment. So embrace that and bring people in and connect them to other people, right? If you're talking to a heavy hitter, you need to be setting up phone calls and be like, hey, listen, I would love to introduce you to one of our mega producers here in our market. His name is Juan. His wife is Bettina. They're, 5-time icon agents. I think you would really connect with them. I just really like for them to share their story with you. And if you have any questions, you can ask them about it, right? Then you're setting up that third party. You're edifying the two parties, and then you hand it over and let them have a conversation. So the conversions, and these are Brent Gove's numbers. When Brent Gove started, and it was like, he said, okay, I'm going to take every Friday, and what was it, from 2 to 5, something like that. He would get up, he'd go golfing in the morning. They'd have lunch, he'd get back to the office, and then he would start making phone calls to people that he knew. He already had a massive database. He already had incredible relationships. That's an advantage that people that have been in the business a long time, that have been crushing it at a high level, that's an advantage they have coming in, is they already have a built-in database. Like Gene Frederick already had hundreds of agents that he knew. So it was him making those phone calls, having those conversations, right? He wasn't calling them up and dumping EXP on them. He was catching up. Hey, what's going on? How's business? What's life? Hey, I'm going to be in town next week. Let's grab coffee. Awesome. He's setting appointments, getting face-to-face. So when you do show the model and you do show, share the business model with people, 86% conversion is what Brent Gove realized. And he called it press play. He was the inventor of press play, because Rob and Gene started doing webinars, and then they recorded those webinars, and then we put them on YouTube, and then we were sending those videos to people, and they were like an hour long, and people were just like, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching an hour-long presentation. I don't even know who this EXP is. I'm busy. I got appointments today, right? Right? Once again, making all those mistakes. And Brent Gove's, I don't know if you've heard Brent Gove's script, but he would catch up with somebody, and he's like, man, I'm dying to know, what have you heard about EXP? Or it would be, hey, I'm dying to know, have you heard about this company, EXP? No, I haven't. But like, look, hey, I respect your opinion. Stay where you're at forever. But would you look at this business model and give me your honest opinion? Poke some holes in it. And that's what Brent's script was in the very beginning, right? He was prospecting. He was trying to get other agents' interests and get their opinions on the business model. Right? They respected him because he was a big heavy hitter in their markets. And plus, he'd been flying around the country doing events and sharing the stage with a lot of other big influencers. So that was Brent's approach. And he said he would book the appointment and show up with them and drink coffee and hit play on the pre-recorded webinar that Rob did. And that's how he did it. And then if he did it over Zoom or invited them to a webinar, he noticed that conversion went down. There's no personal connection whenever someone's watching it on a webinar. I think a webinar is a great way for a follow-up. But if you're not very good and versed at presenting the model, then you need to have someone in your back pocket, your sponsor, your number 2 up from your sponsor or whoever, or someone that you can run with that can help you explain the business model, or you set the appointment and then you press play and then have them watch the presentation face-to-face or on Zoom together. And then sending videos is just sending and chasing. The only time I send a video to somebody is if they want information. That's a different type of sending video, right? I enrolled an agent this week, and he was asking me tons of questions. He had already seen the presentation, so I sent him the 9-minute video, and he was like, oh my gosh, this was so great. Thank you. So I only send a video when people are in that due diligence phase and they want to learn about it and they're eager and they have questions. But when you're prospecting, you don't prospect with a video. If that makes sense. So those are some numbers there. All right, let's get into some scripts and dialogue here. This is where the rubber really, really hits the road. Now, a direct approach and an indirect approach. Now, the timing of this is your call. Now, a direct approach is like, let's say I call Eric. Eric's at Remax. He and I did some transactions together. Hey, Eric, what's going on? Hey, we did that property at 226 Bison Meadow down in Waxahachie, man. Thank you so much, which we actually closed a transaction on that exact property together, but he was already at EXP. And it was like, hey, Eric, what's going on, man? What's going on in your business? Whatever, conversation, right? Catching up. Well, hey man, look, what have you heard about EXP lately? What have you heard? Hey, what have you heard about EXP? Not, hey, what do you know? They're not at EXP. They have no idea. They don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know the Icon Award from 2016 is worth $1 million today, right? They don't know that agents have become multimillionaires from hanging their license and selling real estate, right? They just don't know what they don't know. So the question is, what have you heard about EXP? And you let them talk. Awesome. Hey, are you open to learning more about it? That's it. Those are the two magic questions. That takes away the fear out of you. It takes the pressure off of them. If they start to backpedal, say, hey man, stay where you're at forever. We would love to be a destination for you down the road if things were to change for you. Awesome. Hey man, you got any listings coming up? I got some buyers, right? Just move on with the conversation, right? You don't want to be that person that is like, hey, you got to check EXP out. Hey, you got to check EXP out. Those are the people, you do that to people that you've known for years. Like, Eric, look, man, we've been in the trenches for 15 years. Get your butt over here now and come watch this presentation with me. I'll buy you lunch. Like, you can strong arm people like that because if they don't join, it's like, you're still friends. Just like, come on, do me the respect. Just look at this, poke some holes in it. Okay, great, fine. And then they watch it. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Tell me more. I got 6 properties in escrow. What does it look like? Then the wheels start turning. But that's your direct approach. It takes the pressure off of you. It takes the pressure off of them. And at any point in that needs analysis, it could be a year in, 6 months in, 2 weeks in, right? Hey, what would you alter about your business? What's not working for you? Is your broker providing you the level of support and collaboration to help you get to the next level? Chris Saunier brought over an agent this past fall who kind of peaked out at her brokerage. She was at JPAR, which is a flat fee shop here locally. And there's a lot of agents there and they really love JPAR. But you know what was missing for her at that brokerage was collaboration with top producers. She was trying to level up. She got to 10 million a year and she was the top dog. There weren't $50 million a year producers there. There weren't $100 million a year producers. Guess what? There's a lot of them here. And they share and we collaborate and we can learn from each other. That was her pain point. And once Chris found that, he brought her into our world. He connected her to a third party, right? That's why it's so important to go to the events. I haven't been going to the events in the last couple of years because we have a baby. She's 3 now. But let me tell you, the 4 years before that, I was at every event. Eric knows. I saw my EXP family more than I saw my friends here in local market. That's how I built those deep connections with Brent Gove, Sheila Fayrajon, Pat Hayes, Kyle Handy. We can just keep going down the list. Curtis Dixon, head of our EXP University. Jason Gessing, Glenn Sanford. We can just go down the list. That's what the magic is in the events. It's the relational capital. And yes, you will hear some golden nuggets to help you in your sales business and your recruiting efforts. But the number one reason is the people. Because when you build those relationships, right? They may not be in your organization, or you may not be in their organization. But when you have a relationship with them and you have an agent, like, man, I really need to connect Jeff with this person, or I need to really connect Tara with this person. That's what I did with another agent, Shawnee. She was trying to level up. She didn't have people at her brokerage that were selling it at a high level. I reached out to Elizabeth Riley. I said, hey, I have an agent. Can you do a call for me? She was like, yeah, sure. So we booked a Zoom call. We got on the Zoom call, and Elizabeth's like, hey, Ann, just let me know. I go, what you want me to do or say? I was like, Elizabeth, I just wanted you to meet Shawnee, and I wanted Shawnee to hear your story. And 45 minutes into the call, all three of us were in tears, because Elizabeth Riley has a child named Levi that's special needs. And guess what? Shawnee has a child that is named Levi that is special needs. We didn't even talk about EXP. It was the human connection. That's what I focused on, and that's what I've learned over the years is so powerful. And then after that, she started asking me questions about EXP, and then she's like, I'm ready, let's go. She was someone that I dripped on for 5 years. 5 years. I met her in 2016 in April at a luxury designation class at Champion School of Real Estate. She was the only person out of that class that I connected with and I stayed in touch with. Every 3 to 6 months, I'd call her. Hi, Shawnee, what's going on? How's your business? What's going on? You speak Portuguese, right? Oh my gosh, if I ever get a Portuguese referral, I'm coming to you. Then I call her 6 months later, like, hey, how's it going? How's your business? What's going on? Oh, it's this, that. Oh, great. Well, hey, listen, I don't remember exactly what those conversations were, but I just kept dripping on her. We expanded into Brazil. I called her up. Hey, what's going on? I said, I'm just sharing the good news. Our company expanded into Brazil. You're from Brazil, aren't you? She's like, no, but I have family there and I lived there for a while. She goes, that's odd. You're the third person this week from EXP to call me. I said, interesting. She's like, you know what? I'm actually in market looking at brokerages. When can we meet? Ding, 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 ding. There we go. I connected her with Elizabeth Riley. She signed up. She's an FLQA. 5 years. So, this is the long game. So that's the magic question. Hey, what have you heard about EXP? Hey, are you open to learning more? Yes? Awesome. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., you're either going to do a press play, invite them to a lunch and learn, get them in front of the information. I just showed you the statistics. If you know how to do a napkin presentation, right? Some of you are very versed at the model. Figure out different ways to show them. If you are going to do a video or pre-recorded webinar, watch it with them, but try to get face-to-face with them. Obviously, if they're in different markets, do Zoom or something like that. So indirect approach. Indirect approach is not talking about EXP and just building the relationship and finding ways to add value to their lives and their business. What do you love about your business and life? What do you love about this? What do you love about that? What would you change? Become a valuable resource. Like I was talking about earlier, become their broker before, right? Bridget's here. She's a 30-year broker. I'm sure she's connected with tons and tons of agents, and I'm sure she's been a valuable resource. Everyone on this call right now has a superpower that they can help people with, especially if you've been selling real estate at a high level. So become a valuable resource to people. An indirect approach is following the needs analysis. And when the timing's right, you ask them, hey, what have you heard about EXP? And if they say something negative about it, be like, oh, that's interesting. And then you take it away. Wow, maybe it's not for you, but hey, we could possibly be a destination for you down the road. So the indirect approach is really nurturing the relationship. And then when you feel the time's right, bring up EXP. They know you're with EXP, right? It's top of mind. You spend all this time dripping on your sphere of influence. So when that prospect or that person in your database says, man, my mom needs to sell a house. Ding, 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 ding. Who's top of mind? Same thing with EXP, like Cindy that came up and ran up and grabbed me at the convention last year. I was not top of mind when she was ready to make the move. So she saw me on stage, walking across stage, telling the entire world how many agents we had in the organization. She called me up. She's in my local market. She took me to lunch, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, I can't believe I was just so, naive not to look at this. Like this model is just incredible. And she's 100 million, well, I wouldn't say 100 million, 100 transaction a year agent. And she was like trying to figure out how to recruit. So I've shared this with her. I was like, look, you have something that everybody wants. You're selling at a high level. That's what you share. That's what you teach. Coordinate with your title company. Find a conference room where you can come in and say, hey, take your business from 25 transactions to 100 transactions a year. You did it. Pull out a slide deck and document how you do what you do. What you did in the early days, what you did to build it, and what you did to double it. I go, just document it, put it in a slide deck, and start inviting agents to a title company for a free lunch and how to learn how you can double your business by following these steps. She's like, oh my gosh, no one's ever told me that. It's like, well, that's what I figured out from all this grinding and all the things that we've done is adding value to other agents. So direct approach, indirect approach. And that's the script. Hey, what have you heard about EXP? Are you open to learning? That's it. That's the magic question. Don't push back. You know, like there'll be calls. I know Bob and them have done these calls about overcoming objections. I don't get into those conversations whatsoever. Meaning that type of conversation doesn't even come up. Because if someone's negative, great. Next. I don't even mess with it. It's not even worth it. What's the point? It's not even worth it, right? You can't reason with unreasonable people. And it's the same thing with recruiting and attracting agents over to the company. So foundational elements to really focus on and to really treat this like a business. And that's what I realized years ago. I didn't treat it like a business. And that was the thing that I really had to change. And today it's where I'm at today with my group and my partners and my peers and everyone. We're doing different things. And, you know, the last slide there said, become a valuable resource. That's the game right here, is really becoming valuable to other agents and helping other agents achieve what they want to achieve. Number one's the calendar, right? Time block. You know, every morning once I have my day set up to where the first half of the day is real estate. The second half of the day is agents and content. That's my day. I don't have, there's no question of what I'm going to do. It's like, okay, I'm banging out the deals that we're working on. Before I even took Molly to school, I sent over a contract, executed contract, thanking Tracy at Remax. Hey, thank you so much, right? That's the thing I love about great professional agents. They embrace each other and bring the two parties together. I'm sure we've all experienced those bad agents, right? Where they're fighting, they're resisting. Oh, they're never going to accept that. Oh, well, that's not how, you know, it's like, come on. Our jobs is to come together to bring these two parties together as smoothly as possible. Same thing with recruiting agents. So your calendar is super important. Make sure you time block. Make sure you set time in your calendar to work on your database, to work on your sphere, right? Buyers, sellers, agents, buyers, sellers, agents, buyers, sellers, agents, the deal flow, and then the people around you. So your database is really important. I do use CRM Grow. I think it's an incredible tool. I have probably about 120 agents on drip campaigns that I've spoke with. Oh, tracking the numbers. We'll get to this. I mentioned cold calling here earlier, but I didn't really elaborate into it. So I hired a coach. His name is Russ Collier. He is at eXp Realty. He is a professional, multi-decade long recruiter. He came from Keller Williams, and the guy is amazing. What I learned from him in the 4 months that I was with him, I'll take with me forever, and I'll share with everyone. He's the one I got that script from. What have you heard about eXp? Are you open to learning more? Those are the magic words. And obviously there's some other scripting things and dialogues and different techniques, like I was sharing with positive present, negative future, positive future. That really ties into the needs analysis. But tracking the numbers, I cold called 600 agents in 4 months. Physically talked to them. I tracked it day by day by day by day by day. I didn't mark the people that I left the voicemail with. If I didn't connect with them, it was a live phone call. Hey, Bridget, this is Ian Flanagan, National Team Leader with eXp Realty. How are you doing today? Awesome. How can I help you? Well, hey, listen, I'm tasked with finding some leaders, and you were recommended to me as someone that I should be speaking with. And I'm just dying to know, what have you heard about eXp Realty? Oh, well, well, and great. Well, hey, listen, are you open to learning more about the business model? Nope, no, I'm really happy where I'm at. Awesome. Well, hey, listen, if since we can't predict the future, would you be offended if I stayed in contact with you? No, that'd be fine. All right, great. Hey, Bridget, have a great day. Next. Hey, Eric. Ring, 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 Eric. Hey, this is Ian Flanagan, National Team Leader, eXp Realty. How you doing today? Awesome. How can I help you? Well, hey, listen, I'm not interested. Great. Hey, have a great day. Click. Next. Hey, Michelle, this is Ian Flanagan, National Team Leader, eXp Realty. So I did this for 4 months. I had to do it. I had to do it for myself. I'm glad I did it. Thinking back on it, I wish I would have put that time into making YouTube videos because YouTube prospects for you 24/7 while you're sleeping. YouTube is prospecting for your business. But I talked to 600 people. I had 27 people say yes. I had about a 20 to 27 to 1 ratio, meaning I'd have to talk to at least 25 people for one person to say yes, they were open to learning about EXP. So I booked 27 appointments. Half of them no-showed me, just completely ghosted me. People will say yes and book appointments with you to get off the phone. And I did 11 presentations. I didn't recruit one person. And every single one of those people won't take my call or won't call me back or respond to my text. So I just have them on email drips. So it's like, okay, I have you on an 18-month drip. Every 45 days, an email goes out. And then a text message goes out. Hey, it's Ian, just thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. Will I get somebody? Hopefully. It's not the online YouTube game or the face-to-face, like the agents on the other side of the transactions here. But I share those numbers because I did it. I put the time in. And there are a lot of people that are having success with that. But I had to make a decision. How am I going to continue to push into this? Am I going to go the other route with content, right? Like the big leaders in our company, like Mike Sherrard, Jaime Resendez, who's the other big YouTuber? The guy down in Alabama, Ricky Carruth. If you lead with value and you provide information to agents that help them, then that becomes an inbound marketing type of style. So it's like, I'm going to focus on outbound prospecting or I'm going to focus on inbound content creation. So I'm focusing on inbound content creation, supporting the agents around us, and then providing value to other agents, and then following those steps that I shared with you earlier in the slides. So tracking the numbers is really important. I have a preferred lender, and he and I have a standing lunch appointment on Tuesdays. I refer him agents. He refers me agents. So we know exactly what we're trying to do. I'm referring him agents so he can sell more, so he can close more loans. He's connecting me to his real estate friends and sphere for us to build a relationship. So we have a standing Tuesday lunch at 11:30 a.m. down the street from us at a Kura Sushi. So every week we're like, hey, do you have somebody? Hey, no, I got something to do. All right, great. So every single week I have a lender partner that knows what my goals are, that I know what his goals are. He won't let me pay for lunch because I've referred him so many agents. He's closed so much business from the agents that I've referred him because he's an amazing lender. So the other people that are in your sphere, your title folks, your insurance people, that's who you get referrals from. And if you find someone that you really have a great relationship with, and a lender partner is perfect because both of you are focused on building relationships with realtors. Right? It's a perfect marriage. You can invite realtors to the lunch. You can connect them with your preferred lender. He can invite realtors to the lunch. He can connect them with you. Like he connects me with guys. He's like, hey, look, Ian and his friends are killing it on YouTube. So we'll get together and I'm like, hey man, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? I say nothing about EXP. I start sending him content. Hey, this is how you set up a YouTube channel. This is what you do. These are the topics, right? I'm becoming that valuable resource for him. Will I bring him over? I don't know. The timing is on him, but the whole point is I have a lending partner that has an incentive in helping me grow my business, and I have an incentive in helping him grow his business. And then 30-day team growth, I track my numbers about every other week. I write them down on my calendar. I write them down on my board. And it just blows my mind today because the dream of this whole revenue share thing, it's happened. Right? And if I've been terrible the whole time, I've done everything wrong and end up with 2,000 agents here in another month, anybody can do this. right? I wasn't this great at talking and conversing with people in the beginning. I mean, I have a gift of gab because I waited tables and I was a hairdresser at, different parts of my life in my early days. But the skill set of recruiting is something that you develop over time. So this is something that really rings out to me, and it is really relevant for what we're talking about today. Is you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. Hallelujah to that, right?